and APAC. Thank you very much for joining us about our two new solutions in the ANZ APAC region, TouchPoint Attendant and our communications portal. Just before we get started, we've got a few housekeeping items. Please use the GoToWebinar chat pane on the right side of your screen if you want to submit questions at any time throughout the webinar. We will attempt to answer all questions at the end. We are also recording today's webinar. After this, you will receive a copy of the slide deck and the recording of this webinar via email over the next few days. So let's just introduce our presenter. Some of you will have already met John, who was out here recently, but John Cray is Enghouse Interactive's Vice President of Product Management, with responsibility for defining the global strategy and release plans for Enghouse contact centre products. John has a 25-year history delivering contact centre and CRM solutions and has published articles and papers on topics ranging from the future of contact centres and customer service to optimising operating system security. He holds a bachelor's degree in physics from, and I always say this wrong, we'll say it the correct way, Notre Dame, as in Notre Dame, and a master's degree in computer science from the University of Illinois. So I will hand it over to John. John, it's all yours.
Thank you, Kath. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Nice to be with you again. Appreciate you giving us an hour of your valuable time today. We'll try to make it productive and interesting. As Kath said, we've got two new products that we're bringing into the Australia, New Zealand, and Asia region. One of the products is actually brand new. It's based on an older product, that is the TouchPoint Attendant, but we're now introducing a brand new product there that works with Skype for Business, and we'll talk about that. The other product has been around for a while. It's called Communications Portal. It's an IVR platform, a self-service platform. It's been around for a while in Enghouse, but is just now being announced and made available in the region. So we're very pleased to be doing this, and with that, we'll dive in. So let's start with TouchPoint Attendant. So we're going to take each product in turn. We'll just do one at a time. We'll start with the Attendant. For this presentation, I'll show you some information on the Attendant and talk about where it came from and where it is today. And then I'll actually show you a recorded demo of the Attendant in action so you can see what it's like in a real kind of production usage kind of use case. And then we'll do Communications Portal after that. So the Attendant is really empowering a particular person in the business, and that is the receptionist, the operator, the attendant, whatever we call that person. But it's the person that's really at the front line of the business. The person that is the first point of contact for people walking into the office, for people calling into the business looking for help on a particular topic or subject or looking to talk to someone in a department. It's that frontline person that deals with every first communication with a business. This is an extremely important person for most businesses, right? This first point of contact, this first impression. There's a lot of quotes here. A lot of industry analysts have covered the importance of this person, and we don't really often give the person enough credit, because this person is that point of contact that really drives possibly the future communications with a business that a customer might have when they first contact you. So, really it comes down to how do we make that attendant, that operator, that receptionist, how do we make them productive, efficient, and as personal as we can? So one of the goals of any application that works for that particular receptionist or attendant is to give them the information they need, to give them single-click access to functions to be extremely productive at very high volumes of communications, to be able to see across the enterprise all the people that caller might want to talk to and see who's available and who's not, to be able to offer various options for directing that call or for communicating with people who might be targets for that caller, to be able to prep people in the business in advance for what's coming their way, so you're not just sending them a call cold. And then, obviously, as we've talked about, to be very, very efficient and very, very productive. Some of these receptionists or attendants may handle hundreds of calls a day, so it's really important that they're able to get the callers handled, moved to the right person, and move on to the next call as efficiently and as quickly as possible. But the more productive they can be, the more time they will have to spend with each caller, and that will be a great differentiator for the business if they're able to spend time with the person. This particular application we call the TouchPoint Attendant, and today it works with Skype for Business. The look and feel is based on the TouchPoint framework that we use for both contact center and operator console solutions. But this is a brand new product that requires no servers at all. It's just the client application, and it connects directly to the Skype for Business client on the desktop in order to get access to information on contacts and presence information and so on, as well as all of the call control that it needs to manage and direct calls throughout the enterprise. This product has been co-engineered with Microsoft, so we'll talk a little bit about this as we go forward, but Enghouse is what Microsoft calls a high-touch partner for both Attendant Console and Contact Center. We're very closely aligned with the Microsoft R&D and product management teams, as well as their marketing teams. We've built this application so that it maximizes integration to Skype for Business and ensures that it works correctly with all the different Skype for Business architectures and topologies that you might find in the real world, including, and this is brand new, working with Skype for Business Online, what commonly is referred to as the Cloud PBX. So we're now able to work with that topology and that configuration as well. But it's the same product. So you install the product, and since it connects through the Skype for Business client application, it doesn't matter what the back-end topology looks like. As long as the client can access directories and look people up and find people and view their presence and so on, and as long as the client can take calls and put those calls through and transfer those calls off to other people and set up conferences and so on, then all of that functionality is provided through the client to the attendant, and it just plain works. And it's so easy to install. We've built it so you just install it. It automatically inherits default configuration options. It connects to the client, and you're up and running. There's really no configuration needed. You just bring it up and literally can start taking calls with the application. What it looks like is a very clean screen look and feel. And again, those of you who may have been familiar with the operator console based on TouchPoint, this should look familiar. It's got, though, some new information and new statistics built into it. In this case, we're looking at the number of calls handled by queue in a particular day by this particular attendant. So we can see it's got a very clean screen look. It's engineered to be extremely easy to learn and extremely easy to start using. We're very familiar with a receptionist having to learn something quickly. We can't really afford to send that receptionist through extensive training. So they have to be able to start up the application and with some very intuitive either mouse or keyboard clicks be able to learn that application and start using it very, very efficiently. It's got a gamification style to it as well. And here, a lot of use of color, a lot of use of big buttons and big menus and even animation on the screen, which we'll see during the demo. The idea here is not only ease of use, but engagement. We want to make sure that the operator receptionist is very engaged. Their attention is drawn to the screen and their attention is focused here so that they're not, tempted to move off and go to other applications and do other things. It can do things like screen pop as well, though. So if you wanted to screen pop a caller's record, if you had information on that caller, and you can do that from the interface here, the client interface, then it does allow that kind of interaction with other applications on the desktop. But the key is that it only shows the information that makes sense at that moment to that particular attendant. So when that attendant takes a call, then you see the buttons to control that call. You know, when the attendant is looking up a directory entry or a department, say, through the Skype for Business client, then that information is displayed and you can take action based on the results of that directory search. So it's very context aware of what the receptionist is trying to do. Here's a look at what it looks like when you're actually on a call. We can see that you can see the active caller information. If that caller was in the phone book, we'd see the caller's name. If there was a picture available, we'd see the caller's picture, and so on. You have active call controls there in big buttons, and you see those little function key references in those buttons, F4, F3, F6. Those are keyboard controls, because at high volume, a receptionist has to be able to not have to use the mouse, but directly access the functions from the keyboard. And we found this through extensive knowledge and research with folks that use attendant consoles. They want to be able to do everything from the keyboard so they can be extremely efficient without having to take their hands off of the keyboard. Even if you do a directory search, you can then just use the keyboard to scroll down to the person you're targeting and then use the keyboard to make the transfer. It's all directly keyboard accessible. Calls coming in come in at the bottom left of the screen and change color as they age. And when we get to the demo in just a second, we'll see how that looks. There's a range of options available for the receptionist or attendant. They can just do a transfer, or they can notify targets that, hey, there's someone coming your way. Here's what the call is about. So, or they can take a message and send the message either to a mailbox or through email to the target, whichever way is preferred by the people in the organization. And then, of course, there are lots of efficiency tools built into the application. One example of that is, based on caller ID, we can tell who that caller has recently been transferred to, recent transfer destinations. And based on that, we can see a display of those as a default list, so that, again, with a single keyboard click, I can go to the last person that caller was transferred to before. In many environments, that is a huge efficiency gain, as callers are often going to the same people over and over again. So with that, let's actually go into a quick demonstration of what the attendant looks like in action. I've got a little bit of a pre-recorded demo here. And this is the screen that we see when a TouchPoint attendant first comes up. We can see that it's got this look and feel where we're seeing the favorites list. This favorites list is inherited from the Skype for Business client configuration of this particular attendant, and the stats are right in the middle. And then when a call comes in, it's going to appear on the bottom left part of the screen, and there it is. We see a call, in this case, coming into Cray Family Medicine. So we're playing the role of a hospital or clinic here. As it ages, that call changes color there on the lower left part of the screen, and we can see that counter counting up, and it's just a single click or function key on the keyboard to answer that call, and then take the call, and we can see the caller's information there displayed in the center of the screen. There are those frequent transfers we talked about on the right-hand side. In this case, a couple of doctors, Tommy Melrose and Claretta Dickinson. We can put the call on hold, and when we do, the call goes down to the bottom of the screen, and we can see that always visible queue. It came in on the Cray Family Medicine queue, and then I can make it active again and start talking to Brant again. And again, with just a quick lookup, I can go to a person in a department, or I can use that recent transfers list, and I can click on one of those people, and I can, with a single click again, transfer that call off to that destination. When I do, you will see the call move off to the right-hand part of the screen and animate down the right-hand side. Let's see what happens when we actually click that button. And there it goes, and you can see it moving down the right-hand side. And again, this animation is intended to keep that person engaged with what's happening on the screen. And when Dr. Melrose picks up the call, it disappears from that right-hand side. We'll see later what happens if Dr. Melrose didn't pick up that call, but in case he does, it's sent off to him, and the operator is then available to move on to further calls and further activities in the system. So we've got this clean screen, and again, now that we're not on a call, you see those statistics have counted up. Now the attendant has handled 10 calls today and 5 for that family medicine queue because that one counted up as well. And again, we've got this clean screen. Over there in that little favorites area, I can also look up other departments. So in case I want to make an outbound call or look up a department with the number of, say, physicians available in that department, I can look that up directly. Now we're sending a call into the pathology queue, and again, I can answer that call with a click, and I've got another caller, in this case Loretta Cray, calling in to the pathology queue, and there Dr. Melrose is a target for this caller, but Dr. Melrose is busy. Dr. Melrose is actually actively on a call, so now I can do that lookup by department. Unfortunately, none of the other doctors are available in that pathology department. So I might say, well, maybe I need to wait. Oh, but wait, I can see in real time that Dr. Melrose has come available. And again, I can transfer directly off to Dr. Melrose. But what other options are available to me as a receptionist? I've got other functions that I can do. I can send an instant message to Dr. Melrose asking him if he'd like to take this call from Loretta, and even giving him context about what the call is about. I can transfer, if Dr. Melrose weren't available, I could transfer directly to his mailbox. I could send Dr. Melrose an email. Now, I could do that through an Outlook client or something else, but this is single-click access to these functions, which again, for a busy receptionist, is a really important part of handling a very, very busy, high call volume environment. And I can send Dr. Melrose an email saying, Loretta called, here's what she was asking about. Or I can supervise transfer, which means I temporarily put Loretta on hold, and now I'm talking to Dr. Melrose himself about what Loretta is asking about. So I can prep Dr. Melrose in a number of ways for the call that's coming. In this case, Dr. Melrose is not available really to take this call. He doesn't have the time to spend with Loretta. So I can then change back. I can make Loretta's call active again, tell Loretta that I'm sorry, Dr. Melrose is not available, and get off the call and move on to the next call. So all of this is available to me as a very busy receptionist, but let's see what it looks like when the volume actually increases even more. So if I've got multiple calls coming in, they start stacking up on the bottom left part of the screen. And again, we'll use that color coding to indicate age of call in the system. Now here's a call coming into the pathology queue, and at the same time, here's another call coming into family medicine. So now we're starting to stack those calls up, and they can stack up, multiple of them can stack up on that left-hand side. If other operators take those calls, they will disappear. So in case I can't handle 2 calls at once, in this case, I'm going to take the call from the pathology queue, and we'll see now I'm working on that call, and I'm going to quickly, hopefully, send that call back off to family medicine or to Dr. Melrose. But that family medicine call just disappeared, which means that another receptionist took that call, and now you can see that animated call going off to Dr. Melrose and get picked up by Dr. Melrose. And now another call has come into family medicine. In the meantime, I answer that call, and now I'm talking to Brant, and I see Brant's frequent transfers, and I'm moving on from there. So in that case, we saw 3 calls come in quick succession. 2 calls got handled by this receptionist. 1 call got handled by another receptionist. Things were appearing, disappearing, and animating down the screen in order to constantly indicate to that receptionist what their attention needed to be focused on. Notice I've got information about Brant. He's been connected for 45 seconds up there at the top. there are 10 calls today from Brant. I actually know how many times this particular patient in this case has called into the clinic. And when I end the call with Brant, then I see the statistics once again. And you can see things have counted up to 13. The pathology is now 7. Family medicine is now 6, and so on. I can see how many calls I've handled, how many I've transferred. All of those statistics are visible. So a lot of activity here going on. One thing we haven't seen yet is what happens when a call comes in and we transfer that call and it doesn't get picked up by the destination. That is a very interesting use case, and that could happen due to operator error or due to a doctor just simply being away. But let's see what happens there. I answer a call coming into family medicine. Again, in this particular case, the call is from Brant. Now, Claretta is actually not available, but I'm going to transfer the call to her anyway. And what happens is it starts to affect the transfer and immediately gets pulled back to the receptionist. So we have to handle those error conditions as well. We have to handle those conditions where something doesn't go cleanly and the call doesn't get directly sent off. That is a configuration option in the system to allow you to set up how do you want to handle calls that don't get successfully transferred. Do you want them to be pulled back, or do you want them to go into the voicemail box of the targeted destination? In the case of a doctor's office, you may not want to use the mailboxes. Doctors may not want their mailboxes to fill up with patient calls. In the case of another business, that's a function you may want. The key is that we're able to support those different options and those different configurations. So that is kind of a quick demo. Again, we didn't see all the functions of the attendant, but just some of the basic functions so that you could kind of see how this operates. We've stood up a website to allow customers, or for that matter our partners, if you wanted to get a quick copy of this, to download a free trial. So if you go to that link, angelinteractive.com.au/touchpoint-attendant, you will see this page, which allows you to download a free trial. If you click on that button, you'll then go to another page where you fill out a form. It's this sub-page here, and it allows you to access the free trial request and fill out a quick form with name and information and such. And from there, you go to this page, which actually allows you to download the TouchPoint Attendant directly from the website. So with our partners, we're offering a couple of different options to get customer leads to sell the application. One is your standard process, the process you use today to sell any application from Enghouse off the price list and discount framework that you have set up with Enghouse. And of course, you can just allow purchasing directly, and we can grant the licenses and send them directly to you, and then you can grant them to your customers. That standard process works for this product as well. But we wanted to, since this is a little bit lower price point product, and it is intended for kind of the receptionist or attendant function, we wanted to provide an easier mechanism as well to allow this to be downloaded and come up and running. So with that click, you can actually get a free copy of the application. This is what it looks like when you first bring the application up and you say you have 26 days of your 30-day trial remaining. You see a little dialog box pops up, allows you to kind of at that point enter a product key and make the product actually active. If you don't enter a product key, if you just close that little dialog box, then you still continue to run off the 30-day trial, and you see that banner at the top of the screen that says how many days of the trial period you have remaining. So we're able to do that, and we're able to keep track of that, and we'll provide that information to you as our partners for every customer that belongs to you who has actually accessed the trial. Here's information on the pricing itself. It is a subscription-based product. It's a monthly subscription, but we sell it in groups of 12 months. So there's a payment in advance for a 12-month license, and the pricing is 80 Australian dollars or 85 NZ dollars per month. There is a special option for if you buy 10 or more, you can earn 10% off of that dollar amount. And again, there's the website to go for further information. On that website, by the way, there's also information on the product. There's collateral materials available. There's a quick video, and so on. So you're able to get access to information on the product directly off the website as well. And of course, all the collateral materials can be provided to you, so you have access to hard copies of that and electronic copies that you can send out to customers. So, here are the options. 30-day trial is at zero cost. The 1-year option is at those price points, depending on country of origin for the customer. And then the bulk buy option is available with the 10% off. The partner pricing is, of course, as agreed to with Enghouse based on your partner discount. So again, just to recap on the TouchPoint Attendant, we did co-engineer this with Microsoft. We will be performing sort of new development on the product and future iterations of the product. We're going to keep that in sync with Microsoft's APIs and available functionality as that moves forward. It doesn't require a server. When you're working with the Cloud PBX, this actually works directly with the Cloud PBX's auto attendant and call queues, which are being released by Microsoft early next week. So as of next week, Microsoft will be releasing call queue functionality and auto attendant functionality in the Cloud PBX, and we've aligned the availability of this to that availability as well. Because it works through the client, it works with any configuration or topology of Skype for Business, including on-premise and cloud. You can download it from the website or get access to it through your normal partner Enghouse channel. And we do provide a 30-day trial period for customers who can use the application without any risk. At the end of the period, there's a little bit of a grace period to allow them to activate a live license, but at that point it is required that they would enter a license to continue to use the product. So hopefully that was pretty clear. If you have any questions, as Kath said at the top of the hour, please enter them in the chat area or questions area. We'll try to fit a few questions in right at the end. Because we're talking about two products today, we're kind of got a lot to cover, but we'll try to get through this so we have a little bit of time at the end for your questions. So with that, let's move from TouchPoint Attendant, a product targeted primarily for receptionists and operators, to Communications Portal, which is a self-service engine primarily targeted for contact centers. Why self-service? Why is self-service important? Well, there's a lot of drivers of self-service. The most obvious driver is that bottom bullet there. We can reduce operational costs for a customer service or contact center environment pretty dramatically by deflecting calls that would ordinarily go to an agent to a self-service engine and handle those calls in a very sort of proactive way. Many customers would actually prefer that. They'd prefer not to have to deal with explaining an issue to a live person. They'd rather go through an automation system to get their answer. And in the case of a website, that's become clear as web self-service has become sort of a primary driver in the industry and very, very prevalent way of getting access to the information you need, the FAQs, the order information, and so on. What's going on with my order? Let me look it up on a website. Can I get information about how to use this product? Let me look up FAQ information on the website. That's become a prevalent way, but there is a percentage of people who still want to be able to call in and get access to, say, an account balance over the phone or the status of an order or whatever it might be. The key is self-service is a top 5 trend for every consumer. They want to use self-service if it is available and easy to use. And because of the now prevalent use of mobile devices and access to mobile apps and mobile websites, customers really want to get access wherever they are, regardless of what the information they're looking for. They want to be able to access it very easily. Another benefit that often gets overlooked in providing a self-service engine is what if your customer service department is closed? They're not open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Self-service allows you to continue to offer customer service options even during those closed hours, providing an always available transaction to your customers. And if you do this, you can significantly lower the rate of abandonment from callers, and you can leverage your agents in a smarter way. If you think about it, a self-service option means that calls that do end up on hold and then directed to a live agent are often more sophisticated calls that can't be answered through the self-service agent. That actually makes agents happier. They're not dealing with a lot of routine calls, and so they end up dealing with more interesting calls, more interesting problems. So there's a lot of benefit from using a self-service engine beyond just call deflection and lower cost itself. There's a survey done in the U.S. by a organization called Contact Babel, where they surveyed about 200 contact centers around the country, and they actually did some calculations. They figured out that a live customer service call across all the contact centers they surveyed actually costs the contact center about $5.52. That is based on not only the cost of the infrastructure needed to handle the call, but of course the salary and benefits of the live person required to handle that interaction with that customer. Contrast that with self-service, depending on the contact center, and it was between 50 and 90 cents. So it's 6 times less expensive. There still is some cost because you need infrastructure to support these things, but removing the agent from that equation significantly reduces the cost to the service organization of handling that caller. The key capabilities of this communications portal product are as follows. It supports both inbound and outbound, and it's more than just voice. It actually supports text-based media as well, using the same framework as voice. And we'll see in a second what that framework looks like, how you actually set up a script to be able to process interactions through the system. But today, it can handle SMS, email, and voice interactions, all of them from an outbound perspective, and from an inbound perspective, voice and very soon SMS. The Communications Portal product has support for full speech recognition and text-to-speech capabilities, as is the case with any IVR. It's a long-standing IVR with hundreds, thousands of customers around the world. So of course, speech rec and text-to-speech is a key part of that IVR framework. And this particular product supports 2 different third-party options for speech rec and text-to-speech. 1, Nuance, and 2, LumenVox. And the reason for both is the Nuance option is a little more feature-rich, but is somewhat more expensive. The LumenVox option is a little more cost-effective, not quite as feature-rich. So we have a couple of options there, though, depending on the needs of the customer. And then the Communications Portal product integrates to a lot of different environments, including virtually any PBX environment through SIP and through CTI integration, and even the ability to connect through an SBC directly to a PSTN connection and work as a standalone IVR without a PBX. Mobile IVR Navigator is a new capability in the product. We'll see what that looks like in just a few minutes. But that allows the ability to set up basically an IVR environment that is displayed visually on a mobile device. So instead of a caller waiting through menus, we're dealing with a customer navigating through menus visually on their mobile application or mobile website. So we'll see what that looks like in just a few minutes. The Communications Portal is an enterprise class framework. It's very, very high density. It scales to thousands and thousands of simultaneous concurrent ports, and it has a very high degree of resiliency. One example of its resiliency is that if you set up licenses on a server and that server fails, it can automatically fail over to another server, and all the licenses that were active on the original production server are automatically made active on the backup server. So you don't have to duplicate the licenses. You just basically set up the resiliency, and the licenses on the backup take over when the primary fails. So it's got that kind of failover and resiliency built into the framework. Applications are developed graphically in this portal. We'll see what that looks like in a second. But there's two options there. One is the native studio application, development application supported by Communications Portal, and the other is a VXML compliant studio application. Both are graphical UIs allowing you to build scripts through a drag and drop interface where you're dragging objects onto a screen. And the nice thing about that is that you're able to easily manage those applications and extend them over time. It's easy to add a new menu option to a menu. It's easy to add a new action to a script, that kind of thing. So it's even to the point where customers could potentially self-manage and manage their own graphical scripts themselves. And then, as is the case with the Enghouse portfolio, as we bring the portfolio together, a key part is a call coming into a Communications Portal IVR has to be able to transfer directly into a queue in the contact center in the event you need access to a live person. And it's key to be able to move any data collected in the IVR through to the queuing model and to that agent. So we're able to do that through data level integration between the CP product and the CC product, Communications Portal and Communications Center. Here's CP Studio. We talked about that graphical script. There you see that it's built with objects on the screen. You know, there's a little wait call. There's a little play greeting object over there on the upper right. You know, there's a little record the call, little object there to record the call, and so on and so on. So you're able to do that, and for each little object, you can then open up and see the properties for that particular object. In this case, we're looking at the wait call, you know, where they're waiting in queue. So that particular object has a number of parameters and configuration options available to it. The key is that you're dragging and dropping these objects onto the screen and building the graphical script incrementally, including you can set it up so it looks very clean in terms of menu options, stacking up down the screen, and so on. It's easier than using a programming language to set up a script. It reduces the need to learn that proprietary programming language. It's intuitive, so you can drag and drop. It's not that there's no learning curve here. Of course there is. And when you develop a complex script, it is a bit of a programming exercise, and you would need help from a services perspective to do that. But if you then wanted to change that script to do something like add a new menu option, you could just scroll to that area of the script, look at those menu options, and drag a new one in. It's also got a built-in visual debugger, so you can see where things might get hung up or where there's an error in the script. It flashes and it color changes, and it's all very visual in terms of debugging options as well. The console application is a nice user interface that allows you as someone who's looking at an IVR set of ports to see what's going on those ports. We call them channels, and there's 4 of them displayed there. You can see one is in green. It's got a call waiting on it right now. So we can see that one is actually active and things are going on. We see green meaning a call is in progress. We've got that real-time visibility into those channels, and we can allow the administrator to take channels in and out of service and to associate applications with those channels. So it's nice and clean, nice little user interface, and folks who like that real-time visibility and control get that through this application. Reporting in the Communications Portal product is done through a tool called Decision Manager. It's not the same reporting engine as Communications Center. That is a target for Enghouse to bring those reporting engines together over time. But today is a separate reporting tool. It's based on the SAP product Crystal Reports, but it's a very powerful tool. It allows you to set up parameters, to schedule reports to run, to send those reports to a destination, like a printer or an email, to paginate reports on the screen and scroll through pages, to be able to change parameters, to change, say, when you want the report to target, was it for yesterday or last week or last month, to be able to control other parameters like the time increment for report and things like that. So it's got a lot of power and capabilities built into it, allowing the manager who wants to see data about what's going on IVR to be able to see that. Here's a key part of the IVR framework that we talked about briefly. It's the mobile IVR. So we saw that CP Studio script before. That was set up for a call coming into the IVR. But what if we wanted to use that same structure to build a set of menus that are displayed visually on a mobile device? We can. Here's a sample application that we built using the mobile IVR that plays the role of a bank, where a customer is coming in and is able to connect into that application and see and then select which account, say, they want to look at, their savings account, the current account that's active, and so on. And when they click on that, they're able to see their account balance in the savings account. Not a lot of money sitting in this particular account. And at any point in that sort of navigation through menus, they have actions they can do. Either self-service actions, like we've talked about. CP is a great self-service framework, or live actions where I want to access a live agent. And by clicking, I can actually put myself into queue and visually see that position in queue. I can see wait time, I can see where I stand, I can update that information in real time as I progress through the queue, and so on. And all of this navigation through all the screens in the application and menu options are collected, and I can send that data in a consolidated report through to the manager so they can see what people were navigating through. I can also pass that data through to the agent. So when the agent actually gets the live call or chat or whatever we transformed that mobile navigation session into, when it gets to the agent, that agent can actually see the context of what that caller was doing in the mobile app. This is the classic customer journey omni-channel experience that we like to talk about, where I was originating in a mobile app, I ended up in a call or chat, but it all fit together into one coherent journey, which is displayed to that agent. There's a little video down here at the bottom if you want to see a use case of where mobile IVR might be good. I believe this is a financial services use case where a person's applying for a loan in order to buy a car. But you can kind of click, if you write down that video. We'll also send the slides out, of course, and the recording of the webinar. But you can go through that link to get access to a video use case. So you can see some examples of how this might be used. The Mobile IVR architecture is built to allow you to build either a very basic menuing structure that's generated directly from the CP Studio script, or you can use the SDK provided with the architecture to build it into a mobile application. What we saw on that previous screen where we were navigating through that visual app, that was built using the SDK, and that was built so that we could actually control the look and feel of the application and make it adhere to the corporate standard for, say, a mobile app or a mobile website. It works with all popular mobile OSs, Android, iOS, Apple, works with Windows, and so on, and it works with all popular browsers, Safari, Chrome, the standard app provided on Windows, and the standard browser provided, Edge provided on Windows, and so on. That reference application that you just saw that was built with the SDK, that's also available to anyone who wants it as a sample app so that you can see how to build apps using the framework. We talked a little bit about text media handling in CP. It's not just a voice IVR. It handles text as well. And text is becoming an increasingly popular form of communication for self-service. And one example of self-service is outbound self-service, proactive customer service. Here's that same Contact Babel survey. They talked to those contact centers about their use of appointment reminders, notifications, or surveys. And there you can see that there a very high percentage of contact centers are using proactive notifications for one of these three use cases. The reminder is very, very popular, of course, in healthcare. You're getting that appointment reminder. You're getting that reminder that your prescription is sitting at the pharmacy, and so on. It's very high usage when you, say, are on some kind of subscription basis for something, like your cable service or your utility or whatever it might be, and you want to send a notification that the bill is due or it's time to renew your contract or whatever it might be. Of course, in retail, we see a lot of use of outbound notifications for deliveries of a part or a product that's being shipped and so on. And in customer service, we see the use of text-based media and so on for customer satisfaction surveys and so on. So it's very, very high use. And really with this framework, the customer can pick their favorite communications channel, and the communications portal product is able to then use that channel for this proactive notification. So what does that look like from the framework's perspective? You know, we talked about the applicability of this in retail, healthcare. I mean, it's also applicable in banking and insurance and utilities and so on. The key is as we talk about generally with self-service, you're making the customer happy because you're notifying them of what's coming up, but you're also dramatically reducing costs because you're getting to the customer before they get to you. Before they call you, you're getting to them, and you're deflecting all those calls and lowering the cost. As we know from our stats from before, we're lowering the cost of using the live agent on all those calls. What it looks like is any application or database can generate a notification through the CP script, and that notification can then be blasted out. In this case, we're seeing it as an SMS text sent to a particular customer. Those notifications can be driven to a list coming out of a database like CRM, or in the case of a campaign, or can be triggered by an event. So let's say an appointment comes due, or a contract comes due, and we want to blast out a notification to an individual cell phone, mobile phone, based on that event. We can do that automatically as well. So any event or campaign driven through the script goes to a mobile device, and from there I can go either via a reply directly into a queue, or I can go to a mobile IVR session, as we've talked about. So with a single click on the link provided in a text message, I can launch a mobile app or a mobile website and go directly to the point in that app or website that is in question. In this case, we have possible fraud in a bank, where you click from there to get to your account, and I can see that account activity on the mobile app. And in that case, I can go also directly into queue for a call or a chat or an SMS or whatever were all those kind of communications options that we discussed. All of this is supported today by the CP framework. And in the next few months, there's another option being added, and that is the ability for an inbound reply to text media to go directly into a CP script. And from there, we can apply logic to that inbound reply. We can open it up. We can send an auto reply back. We can look for keywords. Or, in the most advanced of cases, we can send that text message directly to an AI or bot engine and handle it in an intelligent way. That there are no bots provided in the framework itself, but the framework is extensible to work with any third-party application that has an API. So all of this is amping up the text media handling capabilities of the system and the intelligence of the system to adapt to modern ways of communicating. But again, at any point in time, we can go directly from a self-service option directly to a live service option by placing that back in queue for a contact center agent. The Communications Portal product is sold in a number of ways. The voice IVR ports are sold by concurrent port. Mobile IVR is sold by concurrent channel, which effectively is a concurrent mobile session. So if you have 3 customers using the CP framework for mobile sessions, you would need 3 concurrent channels to support those 3 concurrent customers. Outbound notifications are actually sold in a bundle of software channels because that's the easiest way to package it. It's often the case that outbound notifications would be sent in parallel from a number of different channels at once in order to maximize productivity. And 4 voice channels are also included in that bundle because, as we've spoken about, outbound notifications can be done through SMS, through email, or through pre-recorded voice calls. And all of those options are provided in that bundle. The development tools, the CP Studio tool that we saw, the VXML Studio tool, and so on, are sold in bundles called development suites. And those include sample code and documentation and all of the other information that you need to learn to script within the framework, including the mobile IVR script that we talked about earlier, and sample application and SDK that you would use to develop a mobile app or a mobile website workflow using the tools. And then in these cases where a physical connection is required to a PBX, there are hardware and software options available, and those are sold depending on the physical port option chosen per port to support ports, typically in bundles of ports, but you can actually buy, in the case of SIP connectivity, down to a per port basis for the physical ports required to interface to a PBX. So that's the structure of the pricing for CP. The actual specific prices will be included in your price book as provided to you by Enghouse. And that's really all that we had. So that was a lot of information in the last 55 minutes, but hopefully that was valuable information to you. So with that, I would ask you guys if you have any questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much, John. We do have a couple of questions that have come through, and I'll go through those quickly now. The first most important question that popped up very, very quickly was, is there any partner protection, or customers can go direct to website and get the same pricing? The way it works is that the pricing, I'll answer this if you like, the pricing is visible on the website is the list price, the RRP. We sell via our partners, so our partners will get their normal margin discount. When the customer registers for this, Enghouse get the notification. We will then notify the appropriate partner and pass that through to them. So this TouchPoint Attendant is actually a lead generation opportunity as well as an expansion opportunity within your existing customers. So we'll be passing that through so that the purchase order is placed from the customer onto the partner as per normal. So you will get your normal discount. So that's answered that question. Another question that came through, she says losing her mouse, was to do with a technical question. Is the subscription license, this is for TouchPoint Attendant, is a subscription license based on a user login or based on a concurrent login? There may be an instance where the receptionist goes to lunch, but a backup person can answer calls from her desk without moving to the reception desk. John, this one's for you.
Yeah, so it's based on a device. So since the attendant uses an installed application on the desktop, if a person goes to lunch and another person uses the same device to answer calls, using that same application, only one license would be required. So it's not, unlike the server-based applications that actually track things like concurrency and all that through a server, since this is a client-only application, it doesn't, send that information through to any server capabilities at this point. So it's strictly a device-based license.
Okay, they're the questions that have come through. Does anyone else have anything else? Pop it in the chat pane. We've got a couple of minutes before we wrap up, but I hope that's been of use to everybody. Would like to thank you. There's nothing else coming through, so I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much for your attention. I know it's been a lot of information to throw at you in a condensed period of time. Later this week, you'll be getting a link from us with a link to the recording. You'll also be getting